What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and I am here with a review for The Haves and the Have-Nots, Season 8, Episode 7. And this is the episode before the mid-season finale, which is really interesting that they would give us a mid-season finale at Episode 8. But this episode was titled Working Girl. So you guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss what happened in this week's episode. Alright, you guys, so this episode, it picked up where the last one left off. You guys remember Vinny went into Wyatt's room, and Vinny and Wyatt had a pretty long dialogue. So I'm going to sum up the dialogue for you guys. So, Vinny is still upset about Wyatt stabbing him in the neck, and Wyatt is able to just get away with things that he gets away with. He slit his wrist, but shit, he's still alive. Wyatt is just, he's just Wyatt. So Wyatt is apologizing to Vinny. And in a nutshell, Vinny wants Wyatt to pay him, $1 million. I'm like, good luck with that one, because Catherine is in jail. Jim has no access to the money. Hannah has the power of attorney. So, and then Wyatt was talking about he would call his mom. I'm like, she's in jail. So how are you going to call her and she's in jail? Didn't understand that. You're gonna call her from she's in a jail cell, but okay. So Vinny said, you know what? Get my $1 million. If you don't get my $1 million, I'll be back to kill you. I'm like, please do it. So once what's his name again? Vinny. Once Vinny left, with Wyatt, Wyatt called Jim, and he's talking to Jim about needing the money because Vinny says he's gonna kill him. XYZ. He's apologizing to Jim about what he's done to Jim. He's telling Jim he needs to go to rehab. Jim said, you know what, Wyatt, just stay there and do whatever the hell you're gonna do. I'll go talk to Vinny. I'm like, again, good luck with that one. None of y'all have any luck with talking to Vinny, but okay. Just gonna go home and roll with the punches. But I'm gonna pause here and we're gonna move forward, you guys. All right, you guys, and next we see David. So David is still with Hannah. He's still flirting with Hannah, and I'm like, I think Hannah is playing a game with him. And I was right. Hannah had David's motherfucking penny, nickel, and dime. Because she was like, you must really think I'm stupid. You must think I'm one of these dumb young girls that you messing with, or crazy like the woman that you married. So David, he still is laying it on really thick to Hannah. He's telling Hannah, Hannah, do you remember what you said to me the first time we met? She was like, yeah, David, I remember what I asked you. Were you thirsty? Did you want something to drink? He says, yes. Do you remember what you had on? She was like, the maid's outfit? Duh. He was like, but yeah. He says she has something on her. I think like maybe like an anklet on her ankle. Okay, David, cool. She still ain't buying what you selling. So, she told him like, basically she don't believe anything he's saying. And that she talked to Catherine, and Catherine told her not to give Jim a dime. He was like, well, okay, Hannah. And I'm just like, David, you're making yourself look foolish. Get out. So then we see Veronica. So Veronica is over at the hospital with Celine. So Celine and Veronica go in there where her boss is and where her boss and his boss is. So they want to talk to Celine. Now that lady, she was rude as hell, because when Veronica introduced herself as Celine's attorney, she was like, "Oh, Celine, we didn't know that you could have, basically what she was saying was, we didn't know that you, a Hispanic woman, could afford a lawyer." And I'm like, you rude ass bitch. So because she's not rich, she can't afford a lawyer. Oh, okay, cool. Now, actually, before Veronica even went in there with Celine, she got a phone call from Catherine at the jail. So she answered the phone and she said, whoever this is calling me from this jail, I'm charging you $500 for every 10 cents. That she's charging them $500 for every 10 minutes or something that she's on for every 10 cents she spends on the phone. I think that's what she said. And not Veronica, but Catherine said, get over it, bitch. And I just couldn't do nothing but laugh, because that shit was funny. Get over it, bitch. So Catherine tells Veronica to get her ass down to the jail, and Veronica was like, no. So Veronica did not Veronica, but Catherine mentions the loan to Veronica, and Veronica was like, whatever. Let's let's keep talking. So though, like I said, the female boss, she was just rude, thinking that, that Celine can't afford an attorney. So they're going to try to fire, they are trying to fire Celine. She was correct about that. And they're firing her because of the doctor that Jim was talking, that Jim's doctor that said that, he saw her, I guess, and this is the same one that said he saw Celine harassing Jim. Cool. But Veronica comes in the clutch to save her job. She says, although she is fucking rude. So she says that, Celine and, Celine, the reason why this doctor is doing this stuff to Celine is because he has been, sexually harassing her. And Celine's like, that ain't what happened. And then Veronica says, Celine, I know that English is not your first language. I was like, oh my God. If you looked up rude, ignorant, racist, any of that shit in a dictionary, you would see a picture of Veronica Harrington there. So Veronica tells her step out. So she basically tells, the bosses that either they're going to sue them for $10 million or Celine keeps her job and, she wants a raise. And she asked Celine, how much do you make an hour here? She said $17 an hour. I'm like, now, I don't know how much, an actual person, how much people who clean hospitals, I don't know. I don't even know what the title for that is. But I mean, $17 an hour, that's above minimum. That is, it's above minimum wage. That is definitely one thing. It's above minimum wage, but I'm pretty sure it's not enough to live off of. And it also depends on the hours that Celine works. But damn, I was expecting after I read when she said 17, I thought she was saying $7 an hour. I'm like, 7? What is minimum wage these days? Is it still $7.25 or has it gone up? I know in some places it's gone up, but yeah. So once Celine leaves, Veronica and the boss, the lady female boss, get into it. She's like, she called her a bitch. And the woman was like, excuse you? She's like, oh, you are a woman. I was just like, oh my God. But Veronica told the woman, do your research as to who I am. I'm like, yep, you might want to do your research, lady. That, like that. And I was looking at that wig on Veronica's head. It was terrible. But yeah, I'm like, man, you might want to, look into who you're fucking with. But let's move on, you guys. All right, you guys. Next, we see Jim. So Jim went to talk to Vinny, and this was another one of the repetitive dialogues that we had in this episode. Although the episode was good, I did enjoy the episode. It's just sometimes the repetitive dialogue actually annoys me so much. So in a nutshell, I'm going to run this one down to avoid all the dialogue that happened between Jim and Vinny. So Jim is going down there to talk to Vinny, to tell Vinny to leave Wyatt alone. And, the fact that Jim paid Vinny. So Jim said, I paid you $75,000. Vinny says $50,000. That was part of the back and forth. How much money was paid? So Jim says, well, I gave your nephew Mitch $75,000. And once again, Vinny said, no, you gave him $50,000 because that was what the bounty was on Wyatt's head. That was just back and forth. It was 75,000. No, it was 50. No, it was 75. No, it was 50. No, it was 75. No, it was 50. No, it was 75. No, it was 50. Okay, so we got that out the way. So now Vinny is telling Jim that he wants $1 million, and Jim's like, but I don't have $1 million. He says, but your wife does. Well, Vinny, Catherine's in jail. Jim has no power of attorney. Jim is fucked, basically. So eventually, Vinny tells Jim to leave. Jim leaves. Once Jim leaves, he calls, I think he might have called Sandy to track down Mitch, because he needs to talk to Mitch about this $25,000 that's missing. So Hannah, she is leaving her home. And you guys remember in a previous episode, I don't remember which episode it was, But in the previous episode, when Hannah went home, it was that reporter that was outside that said that she lived next door to Hannah, but Hannah didn't know who she was. So the reporter is still outside of her door. I'm like, wait a minute. You're still outside? So you didn't go home? Ugh. So did you sleep outside all night? So she's questioning Hannah about putting Candace out when she was 14. She's asking Hannah if she was a prostitute and stuff like that. It wasn't much with that little scene. Hannah just told her to, leave her alone. I'm gonna pause there and we're gonna move forward. All right, guys. And then next we see Jim. So Jim, he went over to David's house to see how things went with him and Hannah. David tells him things didn't go anywhere between he and Hannah, but David talks about how he felt foolish because he actually likes Hannah. He's liked Hannah for a while. I'm like, really? I'm still stuck on that one. And then Jim is just being his typical self, being an asshole. And it's just like, God, how does David sit? I'm serious. How does David sit there and listen to that man? He's racist. And you're just listening. Yeah. I couldn't be friends with a person like that. So Jim tells David that he went to see Vinny, but when he was talking to Vinny about, them paying him the money, he says that Vinny told him that the bounty was actually 50 on Wyatt instead of the 75 that he paid to Mitch. So he can assume that Mitch skimmed 25,000 and gave 50 to Vinny. And he's like, well, if that's the case, the Malones, they don't like to be pushed about stuff, but he's going to do it because then that will take the protection that Candace, Vinny, and Hannah have. And Dave was like, don't touch Hannah. I was just like, and he kept going, he just kept being an ass on about Hannah. I'm just like, oh God, do I have to sit here and listen to this shit? All right. So then we see Veronica. So Veronica, you guys, she went down to the jail to see Catherine. So they're in there talking, and Catherine is trying to use a loan to blackmail, Veronica. And she asks her, so why haven't you paid the loan? Are you broke, bitch? Is the clinic not, bringing in any money? What's going on? She's like, nope, everything is good. Only thing is, you're gonna pay for it. And she's like, because I am testifying for the DA. So Hannah was like, oh, okay, bitch, I got your number and I'm gonna one up you. She says, I'm not paying for shit because I have no access to the money. She's like, oh, so that means that Jim has it. I'm like, Veronica, you climbing up the wrong tree. Yep. When you find out who actually has power of that attorney, the power of attorney on that one, you're going to look stupid. So she calls Don to meet her at her house, which we didn't see that in this episode. I wonder if we're going to see it in next week's episode. Because I cannot wait to see the look. I can't wait to see the look on her face when she finds out that it is Hannah that has the power of attorney. She's going to flip her lid. That wig is going to disintegrate off of her head. Whew, that's going to be an interesting episode. Please don't let this be going into, please don't let that happen going into the, coming out of the mid-season finale. Oh God, I want that to happen in next week's episode so badly. But let's move on, you guys. All right, you guys. So I hope that this video quality is what you guys are normally used to with me for the Haves and a Half Nots review. Because my energy is really, really low because I'm really actually I'm in a bad mood because I really didn't want to do this video. I was going to put it off until tomorrow sometime, but I was like, nah, I'll go ahead and do it because I'm really in a very, very bad mood. I'm really pissed off right about now. Actually, let's just go off. I'll explain it because maybe it'll help me feel better to talk about it. So if you guys don't know, well, no, you guys don't know. So I do Uber part-time, Uber Eats. It's easy money, it's fast, easy money, and I love it. I can do it whenever I want to. So tonight I decided to, I do it every night about 8:30, and I drive for about an hour to 2 hours. Make pretty good money. So tonight I got a ride. As soon as I logged in, it came. And I was like, okay, cool. It was looking back at it now, I really truly wish I had not accepted that ride, because the ride was $8. I'm like, okay, that's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. I was like, if I get that ride, then I can just pick up some more and make more, make my normal money. So I picked, and the pickup was right down the street from my apartment. I'm like, okay, that's not bad. I'm like, okay, maybe the delivery is in my area that I live in. So I picked up the food, and once I hit start delivery, I realized that this shit was all the way on the other side of Dallas. It took me 20 minutes to get over there, but it was about 14, 15 miles away from where I live and away from where the place was. And I only got $8 from it. That shit pissed me off. That was not even worth my time or my gas. And that just really pissed me off. And then, like, I don't care if you don't have to, I mean, people don't have to leave tips. That's nice if they do. But goddamn, if you know you bought something that is way on the other side of town, and somebody had to drive that far, you could at least tip them. Person didn't even leave me a tip. Should have spit in their fucking food. I should have threw that food and I should have ran over that food. I should have ran that shit over. I should have. My gut was telling me, after I accepted that shit, my gut told me, when I finally realized how far it was, my gut told me to cancel that ride and throw their food on the side of the freeway and leave it sitting there, and they can go get their own fucking food. That shit just pissed me off. Like, that wasn't even half of my gas. All right, I feel better. I let that out. So back to the show, you guys. Sorry about that. I needed to vent. So I apologize. I just needed to vent. So Hannah, she called Candace. Candace and Benny are still in the room, and Hannah wants to talk to Candace about what the reporter said about the fact that she was abused, she was put out at 14. And Hannah was like, Candace, that ain't the case because you left. So we find out that, Candace was sex trafficked. I'm like, oh, okay. Did we know that? Let me know in the comment section. I don't remember if we ever knew that. So Candace also knows that it is Landon who's done all this stuff because he wants her to talk to Charles. So she calls Landon, but goes to voicemail. So then we see Jim. So Jim is at the house and Hannah's there as well. So he's fucking with Hannah, and Hannah tells him, like, okay, Jim, if you keep fucking with me like this, I can't have you thrown out of this house. Like, I can't have you removed. So then Jim tells her that he needs $1 million to pay the Malones, a debt that is owed by Wyatt for, he didn't tell her what. Hannah didn't believe him, and I'm like, see, Jim, you lie to her, you lie so much and you fuck with her so much that when you're actually telling the truth, she doesn't believe you, and that's really sad because you actually do need that money. So then he says, you know what, Hannah, give me the power of attorney and I'll give you $25 million. She was like, see, that's your problem. You think money solves everything. She says, if you really need that $1 million, Jim, go talk to Catherine. And he says, if anything happens to Wyatt, he will kill Candace. And she says, well, if you kill my daughter, I'll kill you. So then, oh God, now see this scene right here at the end, it didn't make sense to me to just bring Oliver on us at the last minute. So Oliver calls Landon because he's freaking out because, Charles has been in his room all day and he hasn't come out. Well, Landon says, well, he's okay. They had a back and forth. I'm not going to repeat what they were talking about, but it was a back and forth. He's like, he's okay. So, once, Oliver and Landon hung up the phone, Candace called Landon, asking Landon where was. He says, well, I'm 1 floor below you. She says, okay, well, come up. And Benny was like, do you need me here to check that dude? She's like, no, you can go. So as Benny's getting ready to walk out the door, he opens the door and in walks Charles. And that is where the episode ended, you guys. So you guys, do me a favor. Be sure to like this video and leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification button so you guys are aware of when I drop anything else. Also, you guys stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Remember, wash your hands and wear your mask and to socially distance you guys. And Also, one other thing, you guys, click down in the description bar and go over and subscribe to my planner channel. The channel is Jerome's Planet. I have 3 videos up now. Go subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video, which will be Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And oh, you guys, I am going to be adding sisters. Do anybody know when the Oval is coming back? If you do know, let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you guys later. Bye.